Hi, this is Micah Lexier, and this is my home. We're going to spend a few minutes taking a look at my house and the objects in it and where I live, and specifically focus on a lot of the artwork that's in the house. Most of the work is concentrated on that back wall. There's a few other spots. When I make an installation in a gallery, there's often like a pause within the exhibition, a blank wall or a white space, and same things going on in the house. There's this big reprieve, this white cabinet with nothing visible on it. It, of course, is hiding hundreds and thousands of bookworks and zines and multiples and conceptual art documents and drawings on paper, but they're hidden away behind those doors, and it kind of just gives a visual pause, which allows you to also have sort of density of artworks in other locations like this wall back here. So not only is it a wall, but there's also a vitrine, and a number of the objects are in a vitrine. Some of the more delicate objects are in the vitrine, including this lamp, this early, late 50s Noguchi lamp that is from my parents' home and now is in my collection. So if we go to the wall, we'll start at the corner. There's a metal work by the American artist Cody Tumblin. Cody's someone that I met on Instagram. We became interested in each other's works and initiated a trade. And this is the work I got from Cody, or the work I selected from Cody. It's a thin piece of metal bent and screwed into the wall. And that asterisk and the CT is actually cut out of the metal. So that's the light coming through the metal. Another artist that I met through Instagram and have traded works with is the Montreal artist Matthew Field. This is a diptych of his and one of a number of works that I have of his work. Below that is an older work. This is a piece by Mark Gomes. Mark is a Toronto artist, and he was part of this collective called Cold City. And Cold City was known for these fundraising events they'd have every year where you could get really great works for a reasonable price. And I bought this in 1990 from the Cold City auction. So there's a number of ways that the artworks have kind of entered my home. There's trades, and there's purchases from artists directly, and there's purchases from galleries, and there's fundraisers. But another example, and quite an anomaly, is this work, which is a commission. I commissioned the Vancouver painter Neil Wedman to paint this painting for me. I had won a commission by the Bank of Montreal to do a project for their project room, and my artwork was a sculpture, a grid of coins, 20,000 coins in a grid, and the coins had letters on them, and they spelled a story that was written by the writer Derek McCormick. Now, for the invitation, I didn't want to let people know what they were coming to exactly. I wanted a little element of surprise. So instead of sending an image of the artwork, I sent a pile of the coins to Neil and commissioned him to make this painting in his style. And what it is, it's a pile of my coins, the minted coins with the letters, and he made this painting, and we embedded within it the title of the exhibition, I Am the Coin. And we used a reproduction of this painting as the invitation to the show, was the introduction, the thing you saw. Another Vancouver artist is Eli Branovsky, and that is a work that's made with Sharpie on wood. Below that is a painting by Sarah Kale, and below that is a little sculpture by Lindsay Cope. And the Lindsay Cope is sort of interesting because it's sort of a category of works that I like. It's part of the sort of conceptual art trope of the sort of tautology, a thing that kind of declares itself. The title of this work is Picture of a Bag Inside the Bag, and it's from 2011, and it's what it says. It's a very standard shopping bag, and inside the bag is a photo of the bag. I love the simplicity and the kind of duality of that work. Beside that is a clock by my partner, Guy Anderson, who operates as Guy. And he makes these really wonderful, playful, inventive objects, book bags and t-shirts and clothing and keychains and this clock. Beside that is an early work by Janice Kerbel from 1996. Janice is a Toronto-based artist who now lives in the UK and was recently nominated for the Turner Prize. Beside that is a old yardstick, a bent yardstick, something I found. But beside that yardstick is this very intriguing object. It's a sort of a twig or stick that's been cleaned of its bark. It's an artwork by Kai Chan. And Kai is really fascinating artist. He's in his 80s. He comes from the craft world and he's so inventive with materials. This work on the wall is a piece called Black and White and Green. It's from 2011 and it's a stick and little carvings have happened in the stick. He's made these little notches and has epoxied little pieces of green glass from a bottle to make this rather evocative piece. I have a number of Kai's works in the vitrine. Right here is a really lovely hand that's made up of buttons. Above Kai's stick piece is kind of staying on topic is a beautiful gouache by the New York-based artist and painter Tom Koken. To the left of that is the one and only Greg Curnow, London, Ontario, local hero, Canadian hero. And I was just getting to know Greg when unfortunately he passed away in a very unfortunate bicycle accident. And I was very honored that his wife Sheila was willing to continue the trade. So now I have this wonderful work by Greg in a memory of that friendship that we were starting to form. Below that is a Tesser Lowe, a young Toronto artist. Below that, Rob Wyszynski, also a younger Winnipeg-based artist, which is my hometown. Just love the drawing, but I also really love the quality of the line making. It's made by carbon paper. So the drawing is done on one piece of paper. There's a piece of carbon, and then this piece of paper you're seeing is at the end. So this is kind of a transfer or a second layer of the same drawing that was done at the same time. Really love it. And below that is quite a beautiful and simple Les Ramsey. It's kind of a collage. It's a work on paper that's been cut out and then glued to this piece of linen. It's a work from 2013. There's also a number of works on the floor. There's this Josh Thorpe, which connects the floor to the wall. It's one of a number of stick works that he's done, joining the wall and the floor with the object. And there's also this rather humorous, fun, playful red sock sculpture by Michael Demonte. He's an artist who shows at MKG, an artist I've collaborated with. It's actually metal. It's quite heavy. It's quite beautiful to look at and touch, and it makes quite a sound when it drops. I think I have more works by Michael Demonte in my house than anyone else. There's another Michael Demonte. This is a candle published by Paul and Wendy Projects. The sock was published by Nothing Else Press. So a lot of the items that I have in my house are multiples as well. If we cross the room, there's an instant coffee poster, and I believe those are unique posters. Each one's like a different color combination, different ink color or paper color. And above that is a early Hugh Scott Douglas from 2011. It's got an amazing surface and texture. I'll just go in on that a little bit. It's quite a beautiful, delicate work. And if we cross the room, there's a trio of works there. The top piece is by senior Toronto artist Rick Evans. It's a work from 2010. Below that is a Eli Langer Also a rather beautiful piece that is red pencil frottage. And I've been collecting Eli for quite a while. Maybe every decade I buy a drawing of his. So I've got 3 or 4 of his works, quite different from each other, as of course an artist changes over the years. And below that is a very simple work, an early work by Vanessa Maltese. It's that gray stick that's quite self-effacing, but depending which angle you look at it, you'll notice there's this really intense, vibrant detail, this little orange stripe that appears on the side of this little element that hangs off the work. It's a nice little surprise. And we'll finish this tour by crossing the room, and there's another little corner of the house. At the top is the 3rd of the Michael Demonte works. This one's called Shape Notes, and it's the most current of the Michael Demonte works I've showed you. Below that is Roaring R. That is a Richard Storms painting from 1993. And below that is an email correspondence with the Paris-based conceptual artist Claude Kloski, and I can't really go into it because it's kind of complex, but it's an original artwork in the form of an email to me. We'll pull back, and probably one of the oldest works in the collection is this Ted Reddick from 1981. And Ted is a senior Ontario-based artist and a teacher, and this is a work that in my mind is very much about the body. I sort of feel like the element on the left is sort of calculating the width of a body, and the vertical element is sort of calculating some vertical aspect of the body, make the head to the torso, or some element. I have no idea if that's right, but that's kind of how I read the work. So I love how minimal and sort of geometric and corporal at the same time. Below that is a big stack of cardboard boxes, one of my other collecting categories. I collect a lot of things, cardboard boxes and coins and conceptual art materials and psychological puzzles and learning tools and onwards. And the final work we'll talk about is this sort of found sculpture or found assemblage made by Georgia Dickey. It's called Self-Regulating Rock from 2011. And it's a work that she made with found materials, and that's how she works with found materials. And I remember walking into Aaron Stump's gallery when Georgia had her first exhibition and was so taken by the work, and this work in particular. There was a kind of a magic moment where the sun was shining on the artwork and hit the artwork in such a way that cast a shadow of that ring hitting that post, and it created a perfect cross on the floor, a really sharp, indelible shadow of a cross. And I'm just very taken by that moment and that shadow and the simplicity of the object and the precariousness and the heft and the delicacy. There's just a lot of things came together for me in this one work. And I'm really pleased to be able to live with it and have lived with it for the past 9 or so years. So that is the tour of my house, or the downstairs of my house. And if you're like me, you're interested in seeing how other people live and what furniture they choose and what objects they've chosen to live with and how they've installed them and how close they've installed them and what other things are around them. And so this was my little tour, and thank you for spending time with me.